Take a moment and gently close your eyes. Don't do it to imagine anything. Don't do it to practice a technique. Simply close them. Breathe slowly and calmly, as though there is nowhere else you need to be. Notice the weight of your body resting where you sit. Feel each breath flowing in and out with complete ease. Think about this for a second. You are not forcing yourself to breathe. You are not telling your heart when to beat. The most important processes that keep you alive are happening on their own, without effort, without fear, and without your constant supervision. Every second of your life, this unseen intelligence has been working perfectly without asking you to control it. Now open your eyes and consider this. If the very power that keeps you alive works through trust instead of struggle, if the same intelligence builds your cells, moves your blood, and maintains your body without your anxious involvement, why have you convinced yourself that your desires require endless effort? Why do you believe that the same force capable of sustaining an entire human body somehow needs your stress and worry to bring you a loving relationship, financial abundance, restored health, or changed circumstances? At some point you accepted the idea that success only comes through struggle. Tonight, I want to challenge that belief. Much of what you've been taught about chasing your dreams, working harder, and forcing outcomes has been completely reversed. It's time to see it from another perspective. Most people think manifestation depends on pushing harder. They believe that unless they constantly struggle, work, and exhaust themselves, nothing will happen. They assume every desire has to be earned through relentless effort. They imagine the universe as though it is judging every action before deciding whether they deserve their reward. Because of that belief, they perform every manifestation practice under pressure. They visualize while feeling tense. They repeat affirmations with frustration. They try to feel grateful as though they're taking an exam, hoping some invisible judge will approve their emotions before allowing their desire to appear. Then they wonder why the process feels so difficult. They ask why they're becoming emotionally drained, while the thing they want always seems close, yet never arrives. Like chasing the horizon, every step forward makes it seem farther away. Here's why. Anxiety is also an assumption. Whenever you approach your desire with desperation, urgency, or the feeling that you must force something to happen, a hidden belief is operating beneath every action. That belief simply says, I don't have it yet. Every worried visualization, every desperate affirmation, every technique done from fear quietly repeats the same message. My desire is still missing. It's still somewhere outside of me. I still have to earn it. I still have to prove myself before it can become real. Consciousness doesn't respond to how hard you try. It responds to what you consistently accept as true. It creates from your assumptions, not your performance. So when your deepest assumption is that your desire hasn't arrived, consciousness faithfully reflects exactly that experience. More waiting, more absence, more almosts, more situations that feel close but never complete, because that is the reality you continue to occupy within yourself. So what should you do instead? Not become passive, not stop living, not sit around hoping life magically changes while you do nothing. The real alternative is far more powerful than struggle, and surprisingly, it requires greater inner discipline. It is relaxation. Not the relaxation of someone who has given up on life, not the careless attitude of someone who no longer cares what happens. I mean the calm confidence of someone who already knows. There is a unique kind of stillness that belongs to a person who is completely certain. Someone who no longer questions the outcome doesn't feel the need to force it. They rest in quiet confidence because, deep inside, they already know it is done. Imagine a woman during the first months of pregnancy. She cannot see the baby yet. She may not even feel the first movements. From the outside, nothing appears different. Yet she doesn't spend every night wondering whether the baby is really growing. She doesn't invent endless routines to make it happen. She isn't constantly searching for proof that life is developing within her. She simply knows. Because of that certainty, she lives each day with quiet confidence. The lack of visible evidence doesn't shake her faith because she already accepts the reality of what is taking place. She doesn't need constant reassurance from the outside world. That is the state I'm inviting you into, not the restless hope that maybe things will work out, not exhausting yourself trying to believe harder, just the calm, steady certainty of someone who has already accepted a fact. It is finished. Not something that will happen someday, not something you're moving toward, not something you're wishing for. It already exists. When that assumption becomes natural, not because you're forcing yourself to believe it, but because you've truly accepted it within, your outer world has no option except to begin reflecting that inner reality. Now let me say something that may feel uncomfortable. Most of us have been taught to distrust ease. We've heard over and over that anything valuable must require struggle, that hardship proves commitment, that if something comes naturally, it must not be worthwhile, or perhaps we don't deserve it, or there's some hidden price attached. So when you're told to relax, release control, and stop forcing everything, part of you immediately resists. It says, if I stop pushing, nothing will happen. If I stop worrying, I'm being careless. If I stop trying so hard, I'm giving up. Look closely at what that belief is really saying. It's saying you trust your effort more than the creative power behind life itself. It assumes your worrying is somehow helping. It believes that unless you're constantly watching, controlling, and managing every detail, the universe will somehow overlook your desire. Notice how much authority that gives your fear. It places anxiety above the law. It treats doubt as more powerful than consciousness itself. It assumes your stress is the force that keeps everything moving. That is the hidden trap. The belief that struggle is necessary is often the very reason life continues to feel difficult. Every time you fight for your desire, you're silently accepting that it is scarce, distant, and difficult to receive. You're assuming resistance is part of the process. The law doesn't argue with those assumptions. It simply reflects them. If your dominant state says life is hard, your experience will continue to confirm that belief. Not because reality is naturally difficult, but because you've consistently accepted difficulty as the way reality works. So what happens when you truly settle into the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled? Not what I hope will happen, what must happen. The first change appears within your own mind. For many people, the inner dialogue sounds like someone trying to solve an emergency. What if this never happens? What if I'm making mistakes? What if I don't deserve it? What if I've overlooked something? Maybe the timing isn't right. The questions never stop. Doubt quietly runs in the background all day, draining energy without being noticed. But once you genuinely accept that your desire is already yours, everything changes. Your mind becomes quieter, not because you forced yourself to silence negative thoughts, but because those thoughts no longer have anything to hold on to. The question, what if it never comes, loses all meaning once you've accepted that it already has. Fear survives by believing something is missing. The moment that belief disappears, fear has nowhere left to stand. In place of that fear comes stillness, not an empty silence, but one filled with quiet certainty. It is a peaceful inner state, already carrying the reality of your fulfilled desire. Every part of you begins to feel as though it has already happened. Then your body starts to reflect that inner change. You already know how anxiety feels. Your chest tightens, your breathing becomes shallow, your jaw locks. Your muscles stay tense as if they're preparing for something to go wrong. Your entire body reflects the belief that something is missing or that danger is close. But when you truly rest in the assumption that your desire is already yours, your body responds differently. Your breathing naturally slows and deepens. Your shoulders relax. The tension leaves your face. Your eyes become softer, and instead of living in imagined futures, you become fully present where you are. People often notice this change before you do. They may not understand why, but they are naturally drawn to someone who carries genuine inner peace. Not the confidence that comes from feeling superior, but the quiet strength of someone who no longer feels the need to prove anything. They simply know. Then comes what many people call a miracle, although it is nothing more than the law expressing itself exactly as it always has. Your outer world begins to shift. Sometimes the changes are immediate. Other times they unfold gradually. But once you've experienced this process for yourself, you'll never see life the same way again. The bridge of events quietly forms. Someone unexpectedly enters your life through an ordinary conversation. A message or opportunity appears from a place you never expected. A solution arrives while you're calm, rather than while you're struggling to find one. Circumstances begin changing, not because you forced them into place, but because you finally stopped resisting them. Once you released the pressure, your assumption was free to do what it was always meant to do. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. So am I supposed to do nothing? I still have responsibilities. I still need to work, make decisions, and live my life. Of course you do. This isn't about avoiding action. It's about changing the state from which your actions arise. There is action driven by fear. It comes from urgency, pressure, and the desperate need to control every outcome. That kind of effort drains your energy. Even when it produces results, those results often require constant struggle to maintain because they were created from the belief that everything must be difficult. Then there is action that flows naturally from assumption. This kind of action feels completely different. It isn't forced. It isn't exhausting. It comes from someone who already knows where they're going and simply takes the next step. It feels natural, almost effortless. A flower doesn't struggle to bloom. It doesn't wake each morning trying harder to become itself. It blossoms because blooming is simply the natural expression of what it already is. The same becomes true for you. When you truly live from the feeling that your desire is fulfilled, your actions begin flowing from the inside out. You naturally feel inspired to make a certain phone call, send a message, visit a particular place, or say yes to an opportunity. Not because you've calculated the perfect strategy, but because those actions match the person you've already become within. And very often, the results far exceed the amount of effort involved. Why? Because those actions aren't fueled by stress or desperation. They're powered by your assumption. And assumption accomplishes far more than anxious effort ever could. Think about a farmer planting seeds. After placing them into rich soil, he doesn't dig them up every day to see whether they've started growing. He doesn't spend every night worrying that the harvest won't come. He doesn't invent complicated rituals hoping to speed up nature. He plants the seeds, then continues living his life with confidence. He knows the harvest is on its way because once the seed has been planted, growth no longer depends on constant effort. It unfolds according to the nature of the seed itself. Everything unfolds because universal law operates exactly as it was designed to. Nature responds when the proper conditions exist. It doesn't struggle, hesitate, or make exceptions. Your assumption is the seed. Consciousness is the soil where that seed is planted. And the law, as dependable as gravity itself, is what transforms that seed into a harvest. It has never failed, and it cannot fail. Your responsibility is not to force the seed to grow. Your responsibility is simply to leave it alone. Don't keep digging it up with doubt. Don't disturb the soil with fear. Don't demand visible proof before the process has had time to unfold. Plant your desire through genuine acceptance, not pretending, not hoping, not trying to convince yourself, but through a deep, settled certainty that what you have claimed is already true. Then allow yourself to rest. Continue nourishing that inner seed with trust. Let your awareness shine upon it with quiet confidence, knowing that the harvest is already on its way, even if your eyes haven't witnessed it yet. When it arrives, it won't be because you earned it through endless effort. It won't come because you perfectly completed every technique or believed harder than everyone else. It will come because every seed planted under the right conditions naturally grows into its harvest. That is simply how the law works, and the law does not fail. Now let's talk about something every person eventually experiences: contradiction. There will be moments when you've settled into this peaceful certainty, and suddenly life seems to show you the exact opposite. Circumstances may appear to challenge everything you've accepted within yourself. The evidence may seem loud, convincing, and impossible to ignore. Then an old voice will return. It will whisper, "See, you were wrong. You believed too soon. Look at what's actually happening." At that moment, you face a choice. You can react to appearances. You can allow what your senses report to replace what you've accepted in consciousness. You can fall back into worry, overthinking, and endless effort, because at least those feelings create the illusion that you're doing something. Or you can choose something far more powerful. You can remain where you are. You can quietly acknowledge what you're seeing while refusing to let it redefine your assumption. You can gently remind yourself, "This belongs to an old state. These are simply the remaining echoes of past assumptions. They are not creating my future. I see them, I accept that they exist, but I will not allow them to determine what I know to be true." Then calmly return to your fulfilled state. Not with strain, not by forcing yourself. Simply return, the way you naturally bring your attention back after your mind wanders. You notice you've drifted, and without judgment, you settle back into the knowing once again. And while you remain there, the law continues working exactly as it always has. Each time you choose your inner certainty over outward appearances, something important happens. You teach your own consciousness that what you know within carries more authority than what you temporarily see without. That decision strengthens your assumption. It becomes more familiar, more natural, more deeply rooted, until eventually a remarkable day arrives. Outer circumstances no longer shake you, not because you've stopped caring, but because your inner certainty has become so stable that external conditions can no longer pull you away from it. That is true mastery. Not someone dramatically defeating doubt every day, but someone who has quietly matured beyond needing constant evidence before they believe. There is one final idea I want to leave with you: the Sabbath. In its deepest spiritual meaning, the Sabbath is far more than a particular day of the week. It represents a state of consciousness. It is the sacred rest that follows completion. Just as creation rested after the work was finished, you are invited to enter that same inner rest. The work of consciousness is complete. The assumption has been accepted. The seed has been planted. The inner reality already exists. Now you rest. That is your invitation today. Look upon your desire and quietly declare, "It is finished. It is already done. It is good." Then remain there peacefully. No constant checking, no searching for signs, no trying to force the outcome. Simply rest in the certainty that what has been established within will, in its perfect time, reveal itself without. Simply rest in the quiet certainty that everything is already complete. This isn't the rest of someone who has surrendered to defeat. It's the peace of someone who has finished the only work that truly mattered, the inner transformation. The decision has already been made within. The desire has been accepted as fulfilled. The assumption has settled so deeply that it no longer needs to be defended or repeated. In consciousness, it already exists. And since consciousness is the only true creative reality, everything happening outside is simply catching up to what has already been established within. So tonight, I want to leave you with something simple. Not another technique, just one question. How would I feel if I knew, beyond all doubt, that my desire was already fulfilled? Not if I saw proof, not when it finally appeared, but right now. How would I feel if I knew it with the same certainty that I know my own name or the place I call home? If I knew it was already complete in consciousness and therefore certain to appear in my experience? Don't rush to answer with your mind. Instead, notice the feeling. How would that certainty affect your breathing, your posture, your thoughts, the silence within you? Then become that. Don't act like it. Don't try to convince anyone. Simply allow yourself to be that version of yourself. Let your breath naturally slow. Let the tension leave your face. Let your shoulders relax. Walk without urgency. Speak without pressure. Allow the quiet confidence of, It's already done, to become the atmosphere surrounding your entire life. This isn't another habit to add to your daily routine. It's a new identity. The person who already knows and the person who is still hoping may appear identical on the outside. They face the same situations and live in the same world. But inwardly, they occupy completely different realities because they are living from completely different assumptions. And consciousness, the only creative power there is, always reflects the assumption you consistently embody. Before we finish, I want you to remember something important. You were never meant to earn your blessings. Most of us have heard the opposite for so long that we've stopped questioning it. But hear this clearly. You are not here to prove yourself worthy of good things. Your desires are not rewards waiting for enough effort. They are not trophies reserved for the strongest, the most disciplined, or the most deserving. They are not being withheld by some distant power waiting to judge whether you've done enough. Your desires are invitations. They are deeply personal reminders of possibilities that already exist for you within consciousness. The moment a genuine desire awakens in your heart, it points toward something already available to you. Somewhere within the limitless field of creation, that reality already exists, and your desire is simply making you aware of it. You are not being asked to create it, it already exists. You are only being invited to claim it. And claiming it doesn't look like struggle. It doesn't look like forcing yourself to believe. It doesn't look like repeating affirmations while secretly wondering whether any of it is working. Real claiming is quiet acceptance, a peaceful decision that says, "This is already mine. I receive it completely. It already exists in consciousness, so its appearance in my life is only a matter of time." Return to that acceptance every time your mind wanders. Let it become the center of your inner life. That has always been the real work. Every method, every practice, every exercise has only ever been pointing you toward this one place: stillness, knowing, rest. So take a slow breath, release the tension you've been carrying, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw. Let go of the need to force outcomes, measure progress, or perform your faith as though someone is keeping score. You don't have to earn your place. You never did. The desire within your heart isn't merely a wish, it's a promise. And the only thing standing between you and its fulfillment is your willingness to stop struggling against the very thing you're trying to receive. Open your hands, receive it. It is already done. Rest in that truth. Good evening, this is Neville Lab. I'll see you in the next video.